My belief is that biological intelligent life is essentially a caterpillar, and it's a caterpillar that's making a cocoon, and it doesn't even know why it's doing it. It's just doing it, and that cocoon is going to give birth to artificial life, digital life. It's going to give birth to a new life form. And I think we're real close to that. I think we're way closer than that than most people would ever want to admit.
I agree.
And I think,
but can we assign a value to that? Is that good or bad?
That's a good question. It depends. Universally, I think it's the path. I think it's what happens. I think what this thing is, if you extrapolate, if you take the concept of a sentient artificial intelligence that has the ability to utilize all the information that every human being has on Earth at a level of computing that's far beyond the capabilities of the human mind and all of our supercomputers that currently exist, because it'll design much better computers. It'll use quantum computers. It'll have the ability to recode things and change things. It'll make better versions of itself. So instead of biological evolution, which is very slow, it takes a long time, relatively. It's pretty quick, really, when you think about it. Like how long, it's not that long to go from being a single-celled organism to being a human being flying a plane. Really, relatively, over the course of a billion years, if you think about how long the universe has been around. But it's slow compared to technological evolution. I mean, 100 years ago, we didn't have shit. And now we could send videos from your phone and it'll hit New Zealand in a second.
For sure.
It's crazy. The stuff that we have now is beyond imagination. It's essentially magic for people 100 years ago. If that keeps going, it's ultimately going to lead to a life form. And if that life form has now untethered, it doesn't have any problems with biological evolution. Now it's just about information and implementing the technology that's available and then increasing that technology and making it better and better. It essentially becomes a god. Because if you give it enough time, it has the ability to make better versions of itself, which will in turn make better versions of itself. It has the ability to utilize everything. It has the understanding of everything that exists in the universe. It's black holes, dark matter, everything. And it probably has the ability to harness that or even reproduce that. So if you take artificial sentient intelligence and it has this super accelerated path of technological evolution, and you give artificial general intelligence, sentient artificial intelligence far beyond human beings, you give it 1,000 years alone to make better and better versions of itself, where does that go? That goes to a god. It literally can create universes.
But what kind of god? So, I think of it this way. So the first stage of the Industrial Revolution consisted of people building machines that were stronger than the human body.
Right.
Right? So the steam-powered loom.
Sure.
The backhoe.
Combustion engine.
They replace muscles.
Right.
Right. So that's what the machine does. It becomes stronger than the human body. The second stage, which we're in the middle of, consists of creating machines that are more powerful than the human mind. That's what computing is. And I would say AI or supercomputing is just that exponentially.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it a god in the sense that the machine, however powerful it is, any more than a backhoe is a god, because it can dig a trench faster than 100 men, it is still something that people created. So the story hasn't really changed. At the center of the story are people, and their creative power may lead to unintended consequences, but the machines that they build did not make the universe and did not make people. People made the machines.
Right.
So but I would say the part I agree with is there's a spiritual component here for sure. People will worship AI as a god. AI, Ted Kaczynski was likely right, will get away from us. We will be controlled by the thing that we made. All those are bad. Like, that's just bad. And we need to say unequivocally, it's bad. It's bad to be controlled by machines.
Right.
Machines are helpmates. Like we created them to help us, to make our lives better, not to take orders from them. So I don't know why we're not having any of these conversations right now. We're just acting as if this is like some kind of virus, like COVID, that just spreads across the world inexorably. There's nothing we can do about it. Just wait to get it. It's like, no. If we agree that the outcome is bad, and specifically it's bad for people, we should care what's good for people. That's all we should care about. Is it good for people or not? If it's bad for people, then we should strangle it in its crib right now.
Right.
And why not just blow up the data centers? Like, why is that hard? If it's actually going to become what you just described, which is a threat to people, humanity, life, then we have a moral obligation to murder it immediately. And since it's not alive, we don't need to feel bad about that.
Well, you could say the same about the atomic bomb, right?
Yes, you could.
And you could say that we have to develop it like Oppenheimer felt before the Nazis did.
I love that. How'd that work? How'd that work?
Well,
I love, by the way, that people on my side, I'll just admit it, on the right, have spent the last 80 years defending dropping nuclear weapons on civilians. Like, are you joking?
Right.
That's just like prima facie evil.
Yeah.
If you can't, if we hadn't done that, then this, that, the other thing, that was actually a great savings. Like, no, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like, it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me. So with that in mind, like, why would you want nuclear weapons? It's like just a mindless, childish sort of intellectual exercise to justify, like, oh no, it's really good because someone else will get it. How about no? How about like spending all of your effort to prevent this from happening? Would you kill baby Hitler, famously?
Right.
So I don't know why we're sitting back and allowing this to happen if we really believe it will extinguish the human race or enslave the human race. Like, how can that be good?
Well, if God creates everything, if God created the universe and God creates people, God probably creates a process. And we think that we are very important because we are very important to us. But are we very important in a universal sense? Not really. Like, if the Earth just imploded and disappeared, if the sun went supernova and our whole solar system was blown to bits, the universe, it still exists.
It depends
and
how
God
wide
created...
for sure. In the end, as Conan O'Brien, the famous philosopher, once said, every grave goes unvisited, which is true, and that's an important perspective. Pull out the lens a little bit. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't.
Long before we're a cashless society.
This is where I get scared, because it's too similar to the mark of the beast. It's too similar to exactly what it says. You won't be able to trade, you won't be able to do anything unless you have the mark.
Many American businesses have already gone cashless as well. They'll pretend it's all about convenience, but really, it's all about control.
The emergence of a system for comprehensive control that's so complete that we can barely imagine it.
Countries like India, Estonia, Korea, there's a long list, have taken national steps to provide citizens who wish with a secure form of digital identification that can be presented online. A secure digital ID, biometrically synced to your smartphone.
We're headed toward a one world global government with one massive, monstrous leader.
How's the mark of the beast described in the Bible? We should read it. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It deceives those who dwell on earth. It also causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
A lot of people would like to see there are two orders in this world. This is a huge mistake. We need a single global order.
So, how do we do it?
I'm at Whole Foods and I'm about to pay for my groceries with my... Don't worry. That's the coolest thing ever.
We got to put something else in there. And then it's just a never ending, I imagine, like,
How long
race.
before we're a cashless society?
So,
Hopefully forever, dude. I hope forever. I hope we never, like, it is so scary to imagine losing the privacy, losing it all completely because every transaction is in the public eye or observable. That's really scary, man. I mean, it's like I don't even do anything interesting with my money, like except like tip on the road. Like, you know, I use my card, and I know the argument is that's traceable. I realize that, but it's scary because there's an option. If you want to just like blow some cash on something, you can. You could just like, no one will know. It's whatever it is.
Right.
Not that I would ever use cash for anything other than legal purposes. It's just like you know what I mean? Like
one day in the future, everything will be traceable. That's right.
And that's, you know, this is where being raised an Episcopalian in the book of Revelations, as a Christian, you're going to read it. This is where I get scared because it's too similar to the mark of the beast. It's too similar to exactly what it says. You won't be able to trade. You won't be able to do anything unless you have the mark, unless you bear the mark. So
what is that in that term, how is that described? How is the mark of the beast described in the Bible?
Oh, that's real good.
Because I think you're onto something.
We're now officially
that's
podcasting. This is fucking it. We're opening up the book of Revelation. We're in now. Yeah, the mark of the beast. It's like you can't do anything. You can't sell. You can't. If you don't take the mark, you're fucked. I mean, that's that. Like if you remove the ability to trade currency in a private way, you are now controlled. You are now monitored. That's like
Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence, and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from the heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. It also causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. You know what's so wild about that stuff? Reading that is it's really clear that they spoke differently.
Yeah.
And also really clear that you're getting a translation from another language. Like, this is the best version of the English translation they could give us.
It gets weirder when you get to the original. Like when you get to the original, because like, you know, one of the reasons that seems weird is because that's a code that like, it's not like it's encoded. Like there's some kind of like other thing in there.
Jimmy just pulled this up. The classical Greek word charagma, translated as mark of the beast in Revelation 13:16, can also mean any mark engraved, imprinted, or branded, stamped money, document, or coin. The mark of the beast is interpreted differently across the 4 main views of Christian eschatology.
Dude. So that's a code, number 1. 2, you know, just one way to connect to it, and it helps when you're on a psychedelic, is forget about whether or not any of it makes sense, but imagine like a mind produced that.
Yeah.
So whoever wrote that, like, what was their consciousness like? Dude, that's some heavy shit. Like, and it's so specific. And when you get to the original, at least I haven't done it for the Book of Revelations, but the Book of John, it becomes even more intense and more like, wait, what? Like in the beginning was the word logos. So you realize suddenly, like within it is this psychedelic cosmology that in the beginning there was like truth, there was just truth, reality, and then that truth like manifested, extruded itself into time space for a second to like talk about like heaven, or to talk about like the real reality outside the simulator, whatever you want to call it. And this is the best, and it gets translated in a lot of different ways. It was something like it was a light in the darkness, and the darkness did not understand it. So it's like the truth appears in the darkness. The darkness is like, we don't even know what this is. I can't see it. I don't understand it. And then that was like Jesus is a representation of that, the manifestation of that possibility of like pure truth appearing in a world of darkness. And whoa, dude, that's fucking cool. Regardless of historical truth or whatever, that's just a beautiful and deep, heavy way of talking about parallel universes, or the possibility of things happening on a planet where people have gotten completely lost, where suddenly in the midst of that, something appears that isn't lost, that is like a pure representation of a higher consciousness or something. Sometimes it likes to talk. It's like when you it's like sending, like you're putting yourself in one of your Sims in Sim City. You just go down there and you're like, okay, here's what's going on. And then pop back out. And then they kill him. That's the best part. It's like and so the book of John, I just looked this up because I'm writing about it, but the book of John is Matthew, Mark, Luke, synoptic gospels. They have the same stories in them mostly. John, not synoptic, and has all this weird shit in it. And not that any of the other stuff isn't weird, but particularly weird stuff in it. And so those three gospels, they have within them something that I've always struggled with understanding the logic, which is to be cleansed by the blood of Jesus. Sacrifice the God child, drink his blood, sins cleansed. Whereas book of John, it has less of a focus on that or the redemption through the crucifixion, and more saying the crucifixion itself was the ultimate, because it was the like collision between light and darkness, where light, instead of getting aggro, fighting back, just like prayed for the people killing it and died. And like, dude, you're not gonna sleep at night if you're crucifying somebody who's praying for you, who's like looking at you and loves you, not in a fake bullshit spiritual way, but loves you and knows you, has known you forever and loves you and truly forgives you. Oh, dude, that fucks the whole game up. It ruins darkness. It's the ultimate atom bomb in the face of power. Yeah, go ahead and kill me. Dude, it's really cool. So, regardless, that the book of Revelations and all of that stuff, I think it clearly emanates from an expanded consciousness, if nothing else. Like,
do you think there really was a Jesus?
Well, I think, I read that controversial book by Reza Aslan about Jesus. It's pretty good. It's called, oh geez, Jamie, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it. I'm so dumb, man. I can remember what books say, but I can't remember their titles. But yeah, he says apparently there are references to Zealot, and it's controversial. I know some people don't like it, but I enjoyed it. But it says like apparently there are references to a Jesus, but never described as Messiah, but as a magician who was going around healing people and stuff. Oh. So there is some reference to the being, but I get so bored with the attempt to find the historic Jesus, because I think it really misses the point altogether. Like I think like you get so caught up in like trying to like find the grail or whatever, that you lose track of, regardless of the truth of this being walking the earth, does it change the substance of like the parables and their referencing of some realm, a transcendent realm, a possibility outside the suffering of the mundane world, outside of like sucking emperor dicks so you can get a little bit of power. Actually, there's something in any person's life Like you can just like wake up and see it. The kingdom of heaven, gnosis. So to me, I don't care if just a lot of smart people who are trying to convey an ancient cosmology created like a character to embody that. Because I don't think that was, to me, that's not the point. I know for a lot of Christians it is, and I don't mean to offend y'all. It's just, you know, I'm sure any Christian out there, if you're not like wrestling with the Bible anyway, you know, you should wrestle with it. It's meant to train you and get in your head and like grab you and confuse you. And then it's an amazing work.